But
Yeah.
it's nice to actually finally properly meet you, because I think we've danced around circles for a little while. Because I remember you used to be a personal trainer at Fitness First in QV.
Yeah.
And then obviously your lovely partner Liv, and I've known for probably 15, 16 years. And then all of a sudden you guys are kind of up and jet setting and away to the other side of the world. So super keen to hear that story. But how did you start? You started with PT and kind of grew from there, or?
Yeah, well, I think growing up as a kid, I sort of, like a lot of kids in sort of my age demographic, watched a lot of the Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, the Rocky movies. And I think ever since just a little kid, I was always sort of fascinated with training, and those training montages in Rocky sort of got me inspired, always sort of doing push-ups and stuff in my bedroom as a kid. And then I think, high school finished, and then it was just a kind of a natural progression. I kind of was going to the gym all the time, and then started seeing personal trainers there and started asking questions, and then did my certification in probably, I think it was 2003, which probably shows you how old I am. And then I started working in 2004 as a personal trainer. That was like my first year. Started as a group fitness instructor and then personal trainer. And that was actually in QV. So that's before Fitness First took over that gym. It was owned by a company called Space. So that was like a little bit more of like a boutique, a little bit more expensive high-end gym, and just started from there, personal training. And I think probably the first sort of 3 to 4 years, I didn't take it as serious as probably what I should have. It just kind of was kind of more of like a hobby, and I kind of liked it, like training myself. But the business side of things and the actual trainer development side of things, I didn't go head first into it like a lot of people do when they initially start. They do a lot of courses and educate themselves, whereas I was probably actually the other way around. I started off, didn't do that many courses, just kind of winged it for a lot of the time. And then I got to a period where in about, 2008, and then I just started to think, well, this is my career now. Like, it's something I'm going to do full time. And that's when I started with courses, and I did a degree in exercise sports science, and did all the courses that were going around at that sort of time. And it just became, I think once you start learning, it becomes a little bit addictive, and then you start to see results and you start applying it with your clients in the gym. And then from there, it just kind of, I turned almost like into a bit of a fitness nerd, where I just, spend all my spare time reading books or, attending seminars or lectures. And yeah, I guess it's taken me, to here, and I've been in the industry, I think we'll probably close to, or a little bit over actually, almost 20 years now. So yeah, it's been a long time, but it's certainly been enjoyable
for the most part.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool. So and then you went, how did you go from like, obviously like finishing your degree and working at Fitness First to being like, I'm going to go to Dubai? Why Dubai? Like, how did you end up making, like, that's not just like, oh, I'm going to go to Queensland or whatever else. That's a big shift.
Yeah. Well, I think in the back of my mind, like when I was younger, I did a exchange program abroad where I lived in America for 12 months. And then I knew just professionally, I always wanted to work in another country. But I think I got to the end of my degree, and I was doing an internship with a company that was called ESS. I'm not sure what it's called now. It's like an athletes performance center for junior athletes. And so I was working there as a strength and conditioning coach. And around that time was when I actually met Olivia, my wife and now business partner. And we just, started seeing each other. And then, a few years later, we got engaged, and we got engaged actually in Dubai when we were doing some travel. And in the back of our heads, we're like, oh, well, maybe we'll potentially move here, because we're sort of both ambitious, wanted to start our own business, wanted to do something new. And at that stage, I'd been working in Melbourne for a long time, and I just sort of got a little bit stale in the same gym, same people, same clients, same I guess routine, and just wanted, I guess, a little bit more of a challenge. And I think Olivia was probably the same. She wanted a challenge with her career. And then it was between, actually, ironically, New York or Dubai. So I had a friend who had a gym in New York, and he was, potentially going to bring me on as a coach there. And then Olivia and I were sort of applying for jobs at the same time. And then I got a job at a company in Dubai called D5, which is a sort of like a high-end personal training gym in the financial district here. And Olivia also got a job around probably a month after I got my job, before we'd ever moved. She got a job for Fitness First, working as head of marketing. So she's got like a corporate background, corporate marketing background. So she was head of marketing and for the Middle East and Africa. So she got a job before we even left, and then just packed our bags, said goodbye to our parents and our friends, and that was in 2006. I think June 2006 we left, and then just from there, just started working. The place that I worked for, D5, it's probably one of the most bizarre personal training studios you can imagine. It was like a boutique, small training studio, but just the characters you'd get in there were like CEOs, CFOs, and they were just charging like extortionately high prices. So, I'd gone from, charging myself, which I thought was a lot of money back in Melbourne, around $100, $110 an hour. And then they were charging me out there at, it was 600 dirhams. So it works out to about 215 Aussie dollars per hour. And these guys that were training with me, they weren't just training, one time a week with me. They were training like 4-5 times a week. And these guys were spending like thousands and thousands of dollars on personal training, but they didn't even concern them. It's just like a different echelon of earning and the money that these people had in that gym. But it was an awesome experience. Like, got to meet some fantastic people, and the coaches that I worked with there were like super experienced. Like, I think everyone in that studio was 10 plus years of experience. Some of those guys even 15 years experience, and like super smart guys. So just actually working in that studio, just being around those people, I just learnt so much, rather than just relying on books and seminars and that sort of stuff. It was good to be face to face with these coaches. And that I guess it's a bit of a long way to answer your question, but that's in essence, that's how we got to Dubai initially. In 2016.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that Liv has that corporate background, because I think once we were chatting and you agreed to come on the podcast, she actually messaged me just to let me know that she was the business side of things. And
yeah. No, she's definitely got the marketing, just the eye for everything, and she thinks about stuff that I don't think about, because I come from a coaching and training perspective. And so when we set up Best Body Code, the business we currently set up, I do all the programming side of things. I do nutrition, and I come up with the actual construct of the program that we run. But then she had all the marketing angles, and just things that I didn't think about. Like, being a personal trainer, sometimes you don't think about those things. But it was a good, I guess, marrying of the skill sets between her and I, that we're able to launch, and I guess fairly successfully do that for the last 2.5 years. And that's I guess been our sole source of income and work. And I think once you launch your own business, as you know, it just becomes, you don't stop. It's like constantly. It's not like a 9-to-5 job where, you're there Monday to Friday, and then you check out on Friday, and then you come back in on Monday again. We're like constantly working for those 2 years. It's been rewarding, but it's certainly been challenging, to say the least.
Yeah. That upper echelon, I guess, of being in Dubai. I remember when we first started personal training, and it was like everyone's dream was like, they're like, oh, the amount of money you can make in like places like Dubai, like just being a PT is crazy.
Yeah.
So I guess that was the kind of plan. Then you sort of worked there for a little while, saved a bit of bank, and then got to the point where you could open up your own shop.
Yeah. And I think part of it as well was the network, because, moving to another country, it's fairly intimidating to move to another country and then go, okay, we're going to open up a business straight away. So it was kind of good. The first two and a bit years we were here was kind of, you'd build up your network, you'd meet other trainers, other coaches, and then you'd sort of understand the market itself here, because the market is completely different to Australia. It's nothing like I'd experienced there. So just knowing people, and having contacts, and then having people that you can ask questions to kind of helps, because the laws are different here. Like just even simply opening up like a bank account, or getting a trade license here, because there's no income tax. It's not like Australia where you pay income tax. They've got like a GST, which is like a VAT tax that you pay, but that's literally the only tax they've got here. So to actually start a business, they make the hurdle a little bit higher. So you've got to get a business license, you've got to get your visa through your business. And there's all these little things. So they've got actual specific companies that we had to use to open up a business, just because it's so complicated. And obviously Dubai is actually an Arabic speaking country. So a lot of times they'll send you, documents or contracts or whatever it is, and it's in Arabic, and you've got to get it translated. So that's why there's a lot of external companies that will actually bank on, expats like myself coming over and trying to set up a business, because they need, someone to tell them what to do, basically.
Yeah. Is it pretty big? It'd be pretty big for expats, wouldn't it? Particularly.
Yeah. It's massive in terms of, it's a little bit like Singapore. If you've ever been to Singapore, it's like a huge expat community here. And I think being so close to Europe, it's not, there's not that many Australians here. There are quite a few Australians, but, most of our friends are English or European, or from the Middle East of some area. So it's a real mix, which I guess is probably part of the appeal for us as well, is you get to meet so many different people, we get to learn about different cultures. And then obviously pre-COVID was awesome, because you're so close to everything. You can, it's a 4-hour flight to Athens. You can fly to Spain in 6 hours. You can go literally anywhere. And we did like heaps of travel the first few years when we were here, but obviously since COVID, it's a little bit harder to get out without having a PCR test.
Yeah. Did you find culturally, like, I mean, obviously there's an adjustment period, but I can imagine even, it's not like moving to, say, New York, where your other options were, like moving to a largely Arabic, like obviously different language and like some pretty big changes to what you would be used to in Melbourne.
Yeah. I mean, it's like anything. You can push yourself out of your comfort zone. You can meet a lot of different people, but if you really wanted to, not that we did, you can confine yourself to your bubble. And it's not like just about everyone here speaks English. So you're not forced to, but there's certain things with the culture here that you have to respect in terms of the locals. It's a lot more conservative in different areas. So you wouldn't, I don't know, dress inappropriately at, in a mall or a shop. But although I say that now, it's become more westernized here, even in the last sort of 5 years since we've been here. And because the laws are strict, no one breaks them. It's not, you can go to a cafe, you can go to the movies, and you can leave your wallet out. You can leave your computer just sitting there and go to the bathroom, and you come back. I guess it's one of the benefits of living here. Nothing gets stolen. We leave our apartment door open all the time. Don't even worry about anything like that. So petty crime is like, it's non-existent here.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy. It seems to be like a destination in general. I know that CrossFit, like one of the bigger CrossFit sanctional events has been like the CrossFit Dubai Classic. And it looks like, I guess you only really know what I'm kind of seeing on YouTube, but as a city in general, like plenty of people kind of getting behind it and supporting it. And then again, like the money that there seems to be to pour into some of those events to make it like not just a good event, but wanting it to be this showcase event, like of the city.
Yeah. Well, that's a huge part of Dubai's like expos, World Trade Expo, having fitness events, having CrossFit, having, even Dubai's neighbor, Saudi Arabia, they have a lot of the UFC and they have the boxing exhibitions there and fights there. They just want to showcase, and they've got the money and infrastructure to do it. And so I've never been to a place where per capita or per square mile, how many nice gyms, you've got. And I'm not just talking like, entry level, like your CrossFit box. Well, I'm talking like, top of the range, like anything you can think of, Atlantis machines, like, millions and millions of dollars. And there's like, I could list literally like 10 or 12 different gyms within, 15, 20 kilometers that are like, the best gyms that you can think of in Australia. But there's just so many of them here, which there's a lot of money invested into it, but I don't know how many people actually make their money back on it. But a lot of times it's just rich people with a lot of money, and they just want to own their own big fancy gym here.
Yeah. Do you find that there's enough of an appetite there locally, like for health and fitness? Like, is it picking up, or is that again?
Yeah, I'd say so. There's, the expat would be a huge market, and we cover in our business. That's, I guess, our target market is mostly the expat community that we target. People between 25 to 35, mostly females would do. We do have males doing the program, but probably more females doing our program. But there's like with the Arab culture, there's probably a little bit more focus on bodybuilding. So there's huge bodybuilding culture here that a lot of the Arab guys are into. But in saying that as well, then there's also CrossFit, gymnastics, that sort of stuff. There's still, I guess, enough of an appetite, as you said, for those businesses to survive. But I'd say the biggest business would be like the bodybuilding style for the Arab guys, and then second would be just your general pop gym sort of stuff, like Fitness First is quite big as well.
Yeah. Do you find there's it makes it super competitive when there's gyms everywhere, or do you feel like because they're not super worried about return on investment that actually the competition is not as great as maybe you thought it would be?
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard question. I mean, there's certain gyms that that are quite successful, and they're very good and got a good reputation, good everything. But then there's other ones like that have opened, and you think to yourself, how are they actually making money? But there was quite a few gyms that after COVID they did actually shut down. So I don't really know on that one. And some of the gyms, so it's a little bit like the Wild West with personal training here. You can go to some of the gyms and they don't have any rules and regulations. So just say you've come to Dubai and you're like, I want to be a personal trainer. You don't even need to show your certification or anything. You can just literally go into a gym. As long as you have a gym membership and your client has a gym membership, you can train whoever you want. And so you can go into these gyms and you're like, the stuff you see in the gyms, the training that gets recommended or dosed out to those clients is mind-blowing, to say the least. But those gyms are busy because of that reason. They don't have as many regulations. Whereas if you go to a place like Fitness First or a little bit more structured, they've got their own in-house personal trainers, so no freelancers in there. But you see a lot of trainers, even good trainers, do freelance here, and they're not actually tied to a gym. They'll just go to, a gym that lets them go in. And plus, a lot of the apartment buildings in Dubai are kitted out with quite nice gyms. So even in our apartment gym here, you could run a personal training session in there if you actually wanted to. Yeah.
And is there much of like a I guess like a network in terms of between actual gym owners? Like, have you found is it that kind of super competitive, or is it more like most people are pretty happy and kind of happy to see you enroll in this kind of together sort of?
Yeah, I'd say it wouldn't be. It's a small industry, and the population is not. I mean, just for Dubai, it's probably close to about 3 million people in Dubai, or maybe 2.8 million. So we've been here for close to 5 years, or a bit over 5 years, and just being here, you start to get to know, the gym owners, personal trainers, the good trainers that you see at all the gym clubs. You start to get to know them, and it's a small sort of clique of people. And so online, especially with Instagram, YouTube, that sort of stuff, you can keep track of what this person's doing, and you kind of know what's going on. So I'm not sure, because I've been away from Melbourne so long, I'm not sure what it's like now there, but everyone kind of knows everyone. If you're a good coach or a trainer that's been in the industry for a while, everyone's kind of networks and knows each other.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's pretty similar here. I think people
Yeah.
maybe niche out a little bit more.
Yeah.
But within that niche, I think it's always the same people at Olympic weightlifting competitions. It's always the same people when you go to a CrossFit event that you see competing or coaching or everything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. How similar is it to what you're expecting? Like you mentioned you kind of went there on a holiday and sort of sussed it out, but to actually move there and live there and be part of it there, was it similar to what you were expecting, completely different?
To be honest, I'm not sure. Like to actually remember what I was expecting, I can't even remember. I thought just in my head, because I knew a lot of coaches from Australia that had already successfully moved here and started. So I had kind of high expectations that we would do well, just from knowing people that had already done what we were trying to do. So it it was kind of easy because we hit the ground running. We had a small little network before we got here, so it wasn't super intimidating. I mean, it's always intimidating to leave your comfort zone and leave your hometown, but definitely no regrets coming here whatsoever. It's kind of been good. I guess a learning thing. It's something we would eventually, when we come back to Australia, we've upskilled ourselves in different areas, not just coaching, but also just running a business. Which has taught us a lot of skills that we can use hopefully in the future.
Yeah, and that's the plan, huh? To come back.
Yeah, we just actually announced like only probably 3 days ago to all the members, all the clients, and on social media that we're running our last challenge, which starts on the 30th of July. So yeah, that'll be our last one that we run, and we're getting a lot of sad emails and people that are upset that we're leaving, but it just I think COVID kind of accelerated our decision to move back. We'd done really well. Like our business is growing each month. Even during COVID, we had all our programs were, well, not all of our programs, but most of our programs were still running, we're still monetized, we're still making money, we're still profitable. And each month we continue to add on to our bottom line, but it's a little bit tiring what we're doing. We've kind of just been doing it. We're just kind of spinning our wheels a little bit. And I just think it's almost time just for a new challenge. So we don't even know if we'll be back. We've booked our flights for September, but as you're probably aware, they've reduced flight capacity in coming back to Oz. So we're not sure. The airlines haven't told us we're not coming back, but I wouldn't be surprised if they tell us you're gonna have to wait.
Yeah. What's the COVID response been where you are, and in relation to gyms as well? Have you guys did you close for a period of time or?
Yeah, I mean, it was super brief though. I think in March, so ironically, one of the biggest sales months we ever had. Oh, actually, we just beat it last month, but one of the biggest sales month was March 2020, and literally like 2 days into that program that we were running, the government made an announcement. They were basically going into lockdown. Gyms were closed, restaurants were closed, and I think from memory it was around like 5 to 6 weeks that the gyms were closed, which seems like nothing compared to what people in Melbourne have gone through. So
we did that like a month ago as well again.
Yeah, I mean we've got nothing to complain about here, and they're kind of progressive. They were just like, the place relies on expats. The place relies on, if it was shut, like basically all the gyms would be closed, no business. People would leave the country because the majority, it's like 80% of the population expats. So the government just realized, they're like, we can't keep it closed. We've got to, open up, and they're super aggressive in terms of getting the vaccine rolled out as quickly as possible. So I think, it's in the millions that it's probably close to maybe 85% of the population have been fully vaccinated. So having their first and their second shot already. So, I mean, but the cases, they're not, I think with Australia, it's so conservative. You have like, 1 or 2 cases and then like everything's in lockdown. Whereas here it's like, the cases are still in the hundreds per day, but it's just business as usual. Like, that they're just kind of going on with it. And I think that's a lot of the other countries like Singapore are just going ahead with business, not locking down and not stopping everything from going forward.
Yeah, well, I think we're the lowest rate of vaccination in like Oceania. So I guess like
Yeah.
you're like not rolling out a vaccination program. Like there's not a whole
Yeah.
bunch of
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's less incentive. Like if I was in Australia and there was like, 5 cases, you're kind of thinking to yourself, well, hang on, what's the risk of me actually getting it? Is probably low. And then you've got all these people that are like, against vaccination, and they're worried that, they're going to die of blood clots, even though it's like 1 in 6 million or whatever it is that you're going to actually get a blood clot. But I mean, to be fair, like if you don't have to get a vaccine, why would you get it? But I think the slow progress or the slow rates of COVID in Australia, just, I guess, people less inclined to want to do it.
I think that has been true until now. And I think more so that we've gone kind of into a lockdown here in Melbourne for like the 4th time. And then ironically, like we're one of 2 states that are currently like not under lockdown. I feel like, I think maybe like the last round of lockdowns has been like the kind of kick in the ass that we kind of need to get this sorted and get this going. Because there is an element of like lockdown fatigue as well. It's like every time we do it, it's like, here we go again. Like, how have we not got this sorted out? So it's like, it's kind of embarrassing from like the government perspective too, that it's like, we still haven't got this figured out like 18 months on. So, but that's definitely a different conversation. But yeah, it definitely is an interesting time to decide to leave, I guess, what is like a stable kind of setup that you've got there in Dubai and make it the opportunity to come back to Australia of all places.
Yeah. But I mean, for us, it's kind of, we kind of feel like, because we know that we don't want to do this forever in terms of the current business that we're doing. We're kind of just like, well, we're just kind of delaying it. We're delaying it. The longer we don't come back, the longer we, don't, I guess, get on with the rest of our life. Not that we don't enjoy what we're doing now, but it's tough. It's hard work. It's like, as you're up in the morning. It's like 5:30. The alarm goes off. You're in there coaching, and then for us, because we're running the business behind the scenes, we're doing all the digital marketing, we're doing the advertising, we're doing the networking in terms of the partnerships with the companies that we work with. We're working from early in the morning till late at night, and so we're just kind of like, maybe we'll try something else.
Yeah. Can you allude to what that is, or is that kind of under wraps in the planning phases?
It's probably under wraps at the moment, because we're not 100% on what we're doing. We've got an idea what we want to do, but we'll share that when we're closer to moving back.
Easy. And you're moving, or you're coming back, like the aim is to come back towards the Gold Coast, right? Queensland. So obviously from Dubai and Melbourne is just going to be way too close to Antarctica.
No, like living here, like I think it's probably about 44 degrees today outside. So it's summer here. And we kind of like the hot weather, probably not this hot. Like the peak of summer here is too hot to enjoy, but we just like the sunshine, like being outdoors. And this is, the perfect climate for, doing stuff outside. Nothing's ever cold. And then I think just thinking about a Melbourne winter again, I'm like, I don't think I could move back there. So we needed something a little bit warmer with a bit more sunshine.
How have you gone managing like you're running the business and working as kind of the crazy hours, but still maintaining like with your own training and for your own sort of balance and sanity? Because I know that's definitely something that when you do talk to small business owners, especially within our industry, like I think a lot of people start working in the industry because they quite enjoy the industry. And then all of a sudden it's like all you're doing is PT or someone else's nutrition, and you realize like it's the time that you're not actually going to the gym right now.
Yeah. I think the key, like anything, it's just habit. And for me and Liv as well, I can speak for her, is we usually work out early. So we'll teach a class in the morning, whether it's 6:30 or 7 in the morning, and then we'll go off and then we'll do our own training, because, the chances of us, in the afternoon, you'll get on a call or you'll get on a Zoom call with someone else. And then just the nature of it, like your hard decisions in the afternoon is much harder to say, okay, I'm going to go do 50 minutes of, lifting or whatever training we're doing at that time. I think for us, it has to be in the morning.
Yeah.
And even on the weekends, we still love to train. I think it's just embedded in our habit, in our routine, and we just kind of wake up, and it's not even like a conscious choice that we have to make. Obviously, sometimes you get to the gym and it's tough. You know, you're tired, you don't feel like lifting or doing what it is. But I think just keeping the motor running on those days, and not expecting that you're going to break any records with your lifts or with your exercise. I'll just get in and I'll do stuff, whether it's mobility stuff or just keeping that routine for me, and it just makes my mindset for the afternoon. I just feel so much better. Whether and I'm constantly adapting, so I'm not too rigid with my structure and my training. I'm always sort of changing depending on how I feel, how I sleep. Probably one of the biggest things and biggest tips that for anyone who's busy and sort of pushing themselves on the edge of like maybe too much and not enough recovery is I think it was 2 years ago, we got an Aura ring, and just measuring like your heart rate variability, measuring your sleep quality, gives you a recovery index similar to like your Whoop strap. It just gives you that tangible data. Not that you need it, like if you're in tune with how you feel, sometimes you don't need to look at the numbers on your phone, but it does give you good feedback, and it'll tell you, okay, today's a day, your heart rate variability is really good, your recovery is awesome, go push it in the gym. And there's a high correlation with how I feel on those days when I see those stats. Maybe it's placebo. Maybe I'm looking at it and I'm like, it says go get them, and I'm like, okay, done. And then other days, like you'll wake up, and if it's in the 60s in terms of your recovery, then like I won't push it in the gym, and I'll just take it easy. But I just think for me and personally, just having that mental feedback, because I'm a little bit obsessive compulsive with numbers and that sort of stuff, and so I like to know where I'm at, and that's probably been the biggest thing, and keeping me probably, I guess, more healthy as I get older.
Yeah. I think it becomes more important as you get older too, right?
Yeah.
The Aura, is that you buy that outright? It's not subscriptive Whoop, right?
Yeah. That was the thing that the Whoop kind of turned me off was you buy it for whatever it is, 100 and then it's like 30 US a month to get all the data. Yeah. Whereas Aura is like just a once off. I think it was 300 US, and then basically just hooked up to your app on your phone, and then you're good to go.
Yeah. I've used the Whoop. I've actually just taken it off like the last month. I'm just like, can't be fucked with it anymore. Kind of similar, I guess, almost the other side. Like I'd be looking at the numbers and you're like, these just don't make sense. Like you've had like 6 hours sleep, you feel like shit. And it's like, oh, you're fully recovered. Like, no, I am not. Like there is
no.
And then I felt like the numbers that you were getting for workouts and stuff were just super sporadic.
That's the thing with the Aura is not, it's more of like a sleep and recovery tracker, because it's an actual ring. I don't know whether you can see it.
Yeah.
So basically it's got like little electrodes in the thing, little sensors, little temperature gauges on there. It's more because when you're lifting, like I was doing deadlifts before, you got to take it off because you'll crack it or break the ring. Whereas I think Whoop is more geared towards recording your training data. So for this, I don't actually really record any training stuff. It'll record your steps, but that's about it.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Might have to have a look into it. I did enjoy the Whoop, and I think after maybe 12 months, you do kind of get a bit of a feel for like, that was a hard workout. Yeah, that's what it says. That one wasn't. That's what it says.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess for starting to learn and pay more attention, the data helps. I love I think when you're in this kind of industry for long enough, it is all about the numbers, right? Whether you're like in volume in a program, or you're looking at macros, or you're kind of trying to track sleep, like you do get pretty into the data, and there's so much now that you can use to facilitate that too. Like it's never been a better time for wearable technology.
Yeah. And that's the big thing with the Auras is it adjusts like my eating habits at night, because I know certain foods, or like just actually, to be honest, like my total calories, if I consume too many calories within that sort of window of like 2 hours to bedtime, my sleep, I don't even need the ring to tell me, but it's just not good. And I can see with specific foods that I'll eat before bed, like just do not agree with me. And it just gives me that extra level of awareness. And I think working with like a general pop client, it can give them that feedback and that kick up the butt to say, okay, don't have that glass of wine or don't have that beer before, half an hour before you go to bed, because it's not doing you any favors for your REM or your deep sleep.
Have you read Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
We just read it this month for we have like an MTM book club. That book is terrifying. Like there's like many books that you read where you're like, this is a game changer, but that book is definitely one of them.
The biggest thing that I got from that was the data on the children and like how, it affects, kids, like, and their, academic performance and not getting enough. I'm not sure if that was on a podcast or he actually spoke about it in the book.
He did a podcast with Joe Rogan where he basically summarized like the best parts, and then the book kind of goes into a little bit more in depth. It's they did a study with a town in the US where they pushed the start time of school forward by like 2 hours. And
I think that was it.
The results of the students like doubled and tripled like overnight. No change to training, like nothing else. They take to school and not teaching or anything. So, and I think it's like as you do get older, you definitely feel like you need to put more into recovery. And then a book like that comes along, and you're like, oh, okay, it actually matters much less what you're doing for training and eating if you're like not sleeping. And it's, I think for the most part, people's priority is like always the reverse order, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Lovely, mate. That was a good little tangent. Appreciate that.
Yeah, all good.
But yeah, mate, it's a fascinating story. Like I said early in our like the PT career, like it was everyone used to like go on about career and Dubai. There's kind of like those next level sort of, this is where you can go on and sort of, I guess, make bank as a PT. And early on, so it's cool to actually talk to someone who went and did it. And now that it's kind of, it's done, and I guess almost done and dusted, mate. It'll be exciting to see like what the next step is.
And I mean, to be honest, it's easy to get, because the guys, if you're committed to like just doing personal training and you just want to bang out sessions and make bank, like you said, but that's never been, I guess, our intention. And that was part of the reason why we started the business. We're trying to, I guess, leverage our time rather than just constantly just doing session after session after session. But there's guys that I know that have been here for close to 10 years and they're just doing personal training, but they make a lot of money doing personal training, just doing heaps of sessions. But I think you get to a point, in your career where if you're a little bit ambitious or you just don't want to be doing that sort of babying, that hand holding, and that's part of the reason why, you start a business like we started, something a little bit higher level that you can have a bigger impact on a bigger group of people, and you're not just confined by that one-on-one. And especially like, when I was working for the company called D5, it's only a certain segment of the market that we're able to help. Whereas with our company, it's kind of between, just your entry-level group fitness and personal training, the pricing and the target of the actual market we've got. So for us, we have a wider reach in being able to actually help people and have a bit of an impact as well.
Yeah. I was going to say, because you guys aren't one-on-one, are you? It's like small group training.
Yeah. So it's a small to medium-sized group. We have, depending on the location that we operate in, it's between sort of 8 to 10, 12. Sometimes we'll have 16 in a class that we run. Pre-COVID, we had bigger numbers, but post-COVID, you had to just, I guess, comply with the restrictions in terms of social distancing. So the numbers aren't as big. I only do like PT, I'll do like 2 sessions a week, and they're just for literally clients that I've had since we moved here. But so 95% of our business is just the group stuff, and we do online as well that we do.
Yeah. How did you find the integration to online? Are you like, do you enjoy it? Do you prefer it? Are you starting to lean more that way just in terms of scalability, or do you find it a bit more draining than like the actual in-person?
There's 2 models. Originally before we started the business and I was doing personal training, I was doing more of like a premium online coaching, and I did that. I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it, so it wasn't something I sort of pursued. I've still got a few clients that I train from Australia, and I do enjoy those sessions where I do with those guys. But to do it as a business, definitely not something I'd be interested in. But with COVID, it kind of just forced our hands in online and for us to actually continue to service our clients. So when they shut the gyms here, instead of doing what a lot of trainers were doing that we knew, they were doing, free workouts on Zoom and free Instagram lives and doing that. We never ever did any free stuff. We always did paid. And because we had such a big database of paying clients, it was easy to market to those guys. So then we just, I think we only stopped in December last year, but we literally from March to December, we were doing like live trainings on Zoom, like 2 times a day. And we had, up to like 70 members doing that at any one time. So it was, in terms of scalability, yeah, you can do it, but you've got to have, it's super competitive. Like you're not just going up against the people who are in your, 20 or 30 kilometer radius. You're going up against, Kayla at Sinus. You're going up against Joe Wicks, all the guys that are massive online. So it's not that we didn't want to pursue that, but I think from our numbers as well, we made a lot more from our face to face, and then we've got other coaches that still work for us now. Whereas the online, it's just not the style of training is not what we love. So I've got a strength and conditioning background, and Olivia's got group fitness, and she does powerlifting and that sort of stuff. So we love kettlebells, barbells, dumbbells. Love lifting heavy stuff, and your Metcon classes, that sort of stuff that requires a bit more equipment. Whereas programming for just a bodyweight workout, it was fun for the time we did it, but to do it day in and day out is probably less appealing to us just from an enjoyment standpoint.
Yeah, I agree. Especially when you are doing things like the big lifts too, right? Like even if someone's working out in a fully kitted gym, it's like you're kind of stuck with the one angle that you get, right?
Yeah.
And if you're telling someone to like anteriorly tilt their pelvis and they don't really know what that means, then you're trying to explain 1,000 different ways. Whereas when you're in person, just like push it, right? So
yeah, it's completely different.
I think like to a point, like you're right. Like COVID did change the game for a lot of people, but I think once you are in the game for a little while, like if your plan is to scale and to not just keep going in and doing 10-hour days in the gym, like kind of have to like move at some point online, right? At least some segment of it.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, that part of that we still do now. So originally when we'd have our members sign up to the program, we'd do all of our assessments face to face, and we'd do like a presentation. So an online presentation, sorry, not an online, it was a face-to-face presentation where we'd get like say 50 members in the room, and we'd present to them for an hour to 2 hours on nutrition, what we expected them to do, how to get best results. We just spoke to them and talked them through basically the full program. But since COVID, we actually, all the assessments we do now are all online. So even with our face-to-face programs, we still get the people to submit their own measurements. With the compliance, it's probably a little bit lower, but from a time perspective and just like it makes our job like 100 times easier. We don't have to see, 70 people and get them do their bioimpedance, do, all their body fat analysis and their stuff, and then send them the results. The onus is on them. So the compliance is probably a little bit lower in terms of them sending in their stuff, but the ones that do, it kind of forces their hands to actually, to do it and to seek it out rather than just to be spoon-fed with information.
Yeah. I find the automation's like it's a challenge to like automate the kind of mundane, like repetitive admin stuff. But at the same time, like I believe you can really over automate and then you remove like the human experience from.
True. There's 2 sides of it as well. Obviously the face-to-face element is huge. And that's why, personal training so widely spread and so successful is because you have that, you have that appointment with you or myself and you've got to see them and you're constantly seeing them. Whereas online it's easy to hide and I guess the thing that we notice as well, and being doing personal training for so long, is your retention rate is super high. I'd have clients. I'd literally had clients that I'd been training for close to 10 years. Whereas in a group setting, even though you're face to face, and then certainly on an online setting, is people will easily drop off and you won't see them, and it's harder. But there's pros and cons of each side of the business. If you're face to face with them the whole time, then you're not leveraging your time as much. But then if you're leveraging your time too much, then you better be good at marketing and sales, because you're going to have to keep filling those spots of the people that are moving out the back door. You got to keep them coming through the front door.
Yeah. It definitely is like give and take, and I guess you just try to find that sweet spot. There was I can't remember the name of it. There's what the name of the study was, but it was essentially like looking at the human brain and kind of ascertaining that like you can't have more than like 100, I think it was 150 like decent relationships. Like at that point, it just doesn't scale any further, and you just start only learning a peripheral amount of information from more people, and no relationship is established. So yeah, I definitely understand that. And then moving that online too is like, now you're not even really like face to face. It makes it even harder. Yeah. I guess it's a bit of a changing landscape for the industry, and it's just about figuring out and trying to evolve with it, right?
Yeah, and it comes down to like doing what you enjoy and what is authentic to you. Because I think if you're just chasing the money, or just chasing the fame or the notoriety on Instagram or whatever it is, people can see through that. And if you're doing something that you truly enjoy, and that hopefully that resonates with your clients as well, and they can see that, you can kind of work out if someone doesn't want to be there, and they're just, a lot of times that actually perplexes me when I'm in the gym and I see a personal trainer training someone, and the personal trainer is either on their phone or talking to someone else, and I'm like, well, why would you even pay that person? He clearly is not invested in you doing what you're doing. But you see in the gyms, like, people keep coming back for that, but I don't know what that is.
Yeah. If you had some words of advice for either someone considering going into personal training or a personal trainer that's looking to make that leap and do their own thing, what would it be?
I think in the beginning stages is try a lot of things, and read a lot of different books and different perspective. I think it's easy when you start out to either completely neglect the education side of things, or just get very one-eyed and just go down one track, doing one thing. Because if you just, I guess, start off, with one area, whether it's, CrossFit or handstands or whatever you're like good at or you can cut yourself off to different experiences. So I think especially in the beginning years, first 1 to 2 years is try a lot of stuff, and then see what sticks, see what you enjoy. Because, if you enjoy it, it's going to make it a lot easier to show up to work. But if you're just going in to get paid, then, the retention rate of actual personal trainers is quite low staying in the industry. So I think it's, you need to love people, need to love being around people. But I think education, upskill as much as you possibly can, because it reflects in, your retention. People will stay with you longer if you're educating yourself, you're offering your clients something that's unique, or something that's building, rather than if you're just there, you're just counting reps, then, the client will see that as well. And then chances are they might not stay as long, and you won't give them as good an experience, you won't give them as good results. And the other advice is probably something I regret with personal training, is not getting before and after photos as much as we get now. Literally in the last 2.5 years, we've got like thousands of before and after photos. And just from a marketing perspective, even if it's not in a body composition way, if it's mobility, or whether it's something you can capture on video or in a photo, it makes your life easy. We have, countless people like applying to get into our programs. We have waiting lists on some of our locations, and it's just purely because people see all these guys know what they're doing. They've got results in the past. And I think in the past, in my personal training, like I'd get amazing results and I'd have someone lose, 15 or 20 kilos. And then I'm like, shit, I didn't actually take their before photos. So I learnt the hard way, but now they're almost a currency in themselves.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. We're big advocates on, you don't even have to send them to us. Just make sure you take them, because in 6 months, you're going to want them. But yeah, no one ever wants to take the day one pictures.
No, the before photos, no one wants to take them. But trust me, even when they say to you, "Oh, like I won't let you use my photos," but once they take the after photo, then they're kind of like proud of where, how much they've achieved, and then it gives them more buy-in to your program because they've gone on a journey, they've learned, they've got good results, and then the chances of them, listening to you in the future, and you tell them, okay, do this or follow this person or read this book or, train with this person, they're more likely to do what you've said because you've given them something tangible or something like a good result. And that's like Poliquin was big on that. He said, when you first start training with someone, just focus on their sleep. And he says, if you can fix someone's sleep, not just from, a health perspective, but just from a buy-in, if you fix someone who's struggling to get, 5 hours of sleep a night and you give them, a few tips and then all of a sudden they're sleeping better, they'll come into the gym and they're like, this guy's a genius. He fixed my sleep. You might have just given them something basic to do, but people are so appreciative of, a result. People come in and they don't want to, they want to give you money, but they're buying an outcome. So as a trainer, if my advice to a young trainer is try and get good at getting results, but getting results really fast initially, just for longevity and for your own actual expertise and business.
Do you guys do much like follow up, like post challenge to make sure people like maintaining like the results that they've been able to achieve?
Yeah, absolutely. With the program, I mean, because we're in a bigger scale, it's harder like on a one-to-one. Like we'll send emails after the challenge is over, tell people, this is what we expect you to do, this is how to maintain. But it's a little bit different than personal training because, you might have 70 or 100 people go through at any one time, but we give them the tools, but there will be people that will drop off and they might not, do it for the right reasons, or, they might not have even got the result that they're after. It's just natural that they won't. But we do actually have quite a high retention of people continuing, so they won't just sign up for 1 month of the program. They'll continue for 6 months. We've got clients that have been with us for almost 2 years now, and then it's not necessarily about losing weight or their before and after transformation. It's more about just like a whole lifestyle thing.
Yeah. And are you an advocate on guinea pigging? I guess especially early on, like testing out on yourself different training methodologies, different nutrition protocols, supplements before like passing that on?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, before we actually even launched the program, we'd basically we put ourselves through the program in terms of the training modules that we take them through, the structure of the program, but then also the nutrition aspect as well. I'm always experimenting myself with different diets, different, supplements, different things all the time. But we're at a stage now with our business that we've been doing it for so long, as we know there's always, obviously they can be improved and there's better ways to do things, but just from a behavioral standpoint, we know what works. We know how to push people's buttons to get them to be compliant with the actual nutrition side of things. So we kind of attack it from, yes, there could be things that we would be a little bit more like optimal for them to follow, but we know, compliance and long-term health is probably the most important thing that we can teach in our program. So, we could get someone to get better results quicker, but, are they going to finish that and then put on 6 kilos or whatever they lost initially. So there's a big element of education and teaching people why we're actually doing this and why they're following a certain program, so that they understand. And so if they decide, okay, at the end of 2 months they want to go and do it themselves, they've got the information to do it themselves. But a lot of times with personal training and programs, people like, that face-to-face, they like actually being part of it.
Yeah, I agree. The accountability too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I guess you get that community vibe as well. Your mates are down there, and it's pretty similar to CrossFit.
Ours is like CrossFit without being CrossFit. Like we don't obviously, but I mean, a lot of our programming stuff and style would come from CrossFit methodologies, and we take little bits from everywhere. And we find
you should, right, for well-rounded programming.
And we find what people enjoy. Like we get feedback, and as soon as you do something and they don't like it, the members are very vocal. They'll be like, we didn't like this program, or we thought this was this. So it's good to have your ear to the ground with that, and always, although you think as a coach best, this is what you guys should be doing, but a lot of times, like, if they don't enjoy it, chances of them coming back the next day are pretty slim. So we've got to like listen to their feedback as well.
Yeah, lovely, mate. Thank you so much. I've taken up an hour of your time, so I don't want to take up too much.
Yeah, all good. It was lots of fun.
I really appreciate, like I said, you sitting down and having a chat. And man, I look forward to seeing what's next for you guys if you do make it back in September.
Yes. Yeah, maybe. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, well, we might have to come up and get a bit of warm weather as well. So maybe we can do a follow-up episode in person.
Yeah, definitely. Face to face is always fun.
Yeah, we'll have to get Liv involved as well in the next one. I'm sure she'll be.
Yeah. So. Yep. Should definitely love it.
Awesome. Cheers, Adam. Thanks so much.
All right. Take care, Ben.